Hello everybody, GrayStillPlays. So yesterday was a pretty decent day for me, all things considered. I came home after a long day of work to make some YouTube videos, reply to some comments, and then noticed this nuclear warhead being dropped. Don't worry, Ivan W., I still love you. Now, with that as it was, and being as it was getting close to midnight for me and I had to wake up in about 5.5 hours, I decided to let that sleeping dog lie. Come the morning, I check the internet, and sweet internet Jesus, everyone is throwing down this headline. Kotaku was the originator, and then from there, Geek, Forbes, IGN, TechRadar, NZ Gamer, and whatever other gaming website, big or small, all wrote a brief article referencing Kotaku, which states that, quote, No Man's Sky has been delayed. Two sources tell Kotaku, end quote. I want you guys to understand a few things about me. I'm not a game journalist, and I don't develop games. I just love playing them and talking about them with you. That said, I went around to try and find any additional information I could about this. I'll leave my opinion toward the end, but first, I just want to provide you some of the information that I found so you can take it however you wish. The article itself was written by Jason Schreier. Sorry, buddy, if I just butchered your name horribly. And approximately 19 or so hours after the article, while Reddit was in the middle of blowing up, a Redditor named Jason Schreier popped up and said this. Hi guys, I'm the one who broke this story. I get that there's a lot of disappointment on this subreddit today, and rage at Kotaku for some reason, but I'd recommend not getting your hopes up. I wouldn't have published the story if I weren't confident that it's true. Obviously, another Redditor immediately posted a comment questioning the credibility of the story, to which Jason then posted this. You know nothing about how I operate or how this story was published. It was certainly not rushed. And even though you're being rude, I'll tell you the full story in the interest of transparency. I first heard about the delay several weeks ago from a reliable source, who I won't identify. I don't typically run news without at least two sources, so I sat on that information until I corroborated it with the GameStop marketing materials, which I verified carefully. This morning, another Redditor posted pictures of the same materials, adding further corroboration. It's nice that you called a bunch of GameStops, but what you are missing here is that the information wasn't sent around in a memo or given directly to employees. It was buried in a marketing kit that was sent to managers this week, giving them a guide for materials to display from May 30th to June 15th. What's likely is that the employees you spoke to have no idea it even exists. If you want to do some real legwork, go ahead and call your 30 GameStops and ask them to look in their manager's marketing kits for this image. I believe it's page 31. Edit. It's page 30, just like your 30 sources. I understand that many of you guys would like to believe that this isn't true, but getting your hopes up will make things worse. I imagine many of you aren't familiar with my work, but I take reporting very seriously, which is why I've broken news, and then he goes on to mention some different news things that he's done. Accompanying this message from the article creator was a picture showing this image from another Redditor whom said that they captured the photograph themselves while inside of a GameStop store. But was it true? Was it photoshopped? Now, I've seen other YouTube videos about this, and in the beginning, I too called several GameStops as well, with all of the employees checking the various databases and mentioning there was not any change that they could see within the database. Then I read Jason's post and followed his instructions exactly. Well guys, here we go. I found a GameStop that was willing to do exactly what Jason asked. This particular manager was extremely kind, and I really appreciate his time. I also called approximately 15 minutes before closing, and I called a particular GameStop that I knew would have extremely low traffic for the store. This way I could have his complete attention. He did get the manager's marketing kit. He did turn to page 30. And then he read to me over the phone, word for word, exactly what was said on that photograph I just showed. And it said, quote, the release date for No Man's Sky has changed since the provided posters were printed. Please use a coming soon pop-up to cover up the date and communicate as needed to your guest about the change of release. Then, being the awesome guy that manager was, he mentioned that he was now communicating to me about the change of the release. What does it all mean exactly? Where does the July or August approximation come from? Does the fact that it mentions changed and not delayed have any impact? I really don't know, guys. I can only tell you what my personal experience was when I dug a little deeper. Take that as you will. And that's pretty much it, folks. That as it is, guys, you know I've always got to put something about you because I love you guys. So the last video I asked what type of combat you prefer, and if you prefer to run and gun, or prefer to blast away in a space dogfight, or if you prefer to just be a pacifist, and here were some of your responses. Ian C said, "What type of combat do I enjoy the most? I'm the pacifist that despises combat altogether. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Also, you catch more flies with honey. Fighting is a waste of resources." Well said, Ian. Be Quiet, I'm Listening to the Radio said, "Combat seems really interesting on both sides, land and foot, but the combat with huge creatures for sure grabs my attention the most. But I'm more of a passive explorer, but I will enjoy combat nonetheless." Christian Piro mentioned, "I won't be the punk that incites combat, but I'll be ready to put up a good fight should push come to shove." And Charlie Black 77 said, "I'm looking forward to some good old-fashioned space combat. Outside of PC, we have not had something like this in years." As always, folks, thanks again for all of your responses. And now let me ask you this. Do you want to make a prediction right now as to whether or not the release date for No Man's Sky is truly changed? It's a pretty controversial thing right now, I know. So feel free to totally not do it if you don't feel comfortable. But then let me ask you a secondary question. How would you feel if a game you love did get its release date changed? Would you be okay with it since you want the most complete bug-free game the developer can deliver? Would you feel disappointed or cheated? Whatever you feel free to let me know in the comment section below, and as always, stay foxy and much love.